Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. We've got some class changes coming through. They have done some rebalancing even since the pre-release, which is something that I'm really anticipating that is going to be an ongoing process. I just finished leveling my druid to level 80, and wow, I don't really want to spoil it for you, but the story has improved immensely with this. I was very pleased with the campaign overall, and the leveling process seems to be reasonably fast as well. So if you're worried about getting alts, I've seen some people leveling as fast as an hour, to 5 hours to 7, somewhere in that type of range. So it was a really good time. Seems really efficient now for leveling alts and getting things underway. So if you'd like to follow me in my journey live there, I'm going to be doing the solo shuffle challenges where we're pushing to 2400 rating, trying to go for rank 1, and I am considering actually doing some Mythic Plus as Guardian, as I did some dungeons leveling and actually really enjoyed tanking. It's been a long time since I tanked PvE, but it reminded me of why I actually like tanking PvE. So definitely going to be likely branching out a bit with this expansion more than others. But let's just go through the hot fixes here for August 22nd. There's a couple of bug fixes for Frost Death Knight. Fix an issue causing Razor Ice not to persist on the target applied via Arctic Assault when the Death Knight is not talented into Glacial Advance. Unholy, fix an issue where the Ghoul could fail to be resummoned upon dismounting. For Survival, Harpoon now pulls you to the edge of the target's hitbox as opposed to the center. And for Rogue, fixed an issue which could remove the Rogue from stealth if Vanish duration expired while Subterfuge was activated. So these seem like really just good bug fixes to quality of life, but no major gameplay changes yet. Fixed an issue that could prevent dispatch from triggering in intended circumstance with Crackshot talented. So again, just quality of life. For Assassination, fixed an issue that prevented Deathmark's bleed damage from benefiting from Mastery Potent Assassin. That seems like it could likely be a pretty significant damage increase. For Shaman, Ice and Fire now affects Primordial Wave damage. Improved Flame Tongue Weapon now affects Primordial Wave damage, and Nature's Fury now also affects Primordial Wave damage. So it's a lot of more damage put into Primordial Wave for Ellie and Enhancement. For Arms Warrior, Mortal Strike from Unhinged will no longer strike additional targets while Sweeping Strikes is active. This was a huge gameplay to Arms Warrior, pre-popping your Sweeping before you Bladestorm, and this is going to lower your damage a lot in those AoE situations. That is a big loss. And the same seems to be true here for Fury Warrior, with Bloodthirst from Unhinged no longer striking additional targets nor consuming stacks of Whirlwind while Whirlwind is active. That seems like a pretty big AoE loss. Now, Arms and Fury, while I was leveling, even with these changes, we're doing like the highest DPS of the classes that I've seen in dungeons. So maybe this doesn't really matter because I'm assuming this was live for when I was leveling and they were still doing like almost twice the damage in some cases over other classes. For dungeons, all damage enemy reduced by 7% in Mythic Plus difficulties. You can't even do Mythic yet, so this has to be from beta. All dungeon enemy health reduced by 10% in Heroic. You can't do that either. The Tyrannical Affix health increases on boss reduced by 5%. Reduce the health and damage of all battled for Azeroth bosses by approximately 4%. Transpog Farmers rejoice. Oh my god, I tried doing the what is it, Zuldazar raid or Tal'Dazar raid, and oh my god, I don't know why they buffed the HP, so this is really nice quality of life. Reduce the health and damage of Shadowlands raid bosses by 65%, so you're also going to be able to farm Transmog and Shadowlands likely very easily. Now we've got some really big PvP changes as well to cover. The maximum amount of honor you can accrue is 4,000 during the duration of the early access, and it will increase to 15,000 when it ends. I don't think this is going to be a really big deal. I think the only thing that I'm somewhat concerned with honor farming is sockets, because you get sockets with honor, and I believe it's 15,000 honor per socket. I'm really hoping that they don't allow you to put sockets on honored gear, if that makes sense, on the starting blue gear. I hope it's only you can socket epic gear, because I don't want to farm 100,000 plus honor to put sockets on my blue gear and then have to farm the honor to put it on my epic gear. I don't know if you guys, that sounds appealing to you, but I really don't want to do that. So I'm really hoping you can't put sockets on it. And then, farming this 15k every week to put a socket on something you buy is likely going to be, hopefully, the path that we take it. But Rogues, what is going on with you? Shiv is getting a 17% damage buff in PvP. Echoing Reprimand is getting a 10% damage buff in PvP. For Assassination, and Venom's getting a 4% damage buff. Mutilate's getting a 4% damage buff. King's Bane dot damage getting an 8% damage buff. And its initial damage is getting a 12% buff. I did not know that rogues needed this many buffs. I thought rogue was doing pretty good. This is actually pretty terrifying. For outlaw rogue, dispatch is going to do 20% more damage. Sinister strike is going to do 5%. Your mastery is going to do 5%. Your blade rush is going to do 5% more damage. And your stamina increase, though, is going down to 12% from 15. Ace up your sleeve effect, no longer reduced in PvP. It was reduced by 20 previously. And crack shot is now going to be getting a 13% damage buff. So outlaw getting some pretty significant damage buffs, although losing maybe a little bit of durability. Tiny bit of durability for some really big damage, it seems like. For subtlety, eviscerate damage no longer reduced in PvP combat. It was previously 5%, so 5% damage to eviscerate. Shadow strike is no longer increased, though, in PvP. So shadow strike damage down, eviscerate damage up. Secret technique, damage now reduced by 30%, down from 40. So Secret Technique gets a 10% damage buff. Gorma's Bite also gets a 10% damage buff. Flagellation gets a 20% damage buff. So you may really want to consider Flagellation if you were untalenting out of that after that change. Proliferated Veins is also getting a 20% damage buffs. So seemingly across the board, damage buffs for rogues when it comes to PvP specifically, which seems really surprising. I was honestly expecting to see some nerfs coming in for Preservation Evoker or Frost Mage. I think that these could be really problematic. I don't know if the beta is still up now with the pre-release, but if it is, I'm definitely going to hop on it at some point to see what's going on with it, because these changes are pretty wild in that regard. And then quality of life changes and a couple nerfs to warrior, it looks like, with this round of changes. And as always, if you want to stay up to date with news related to World of Warcraft and the gaming industry, then make sure to smash the subscribe button. Hope you guys enjoyed this and hope you guys are enjoying the war within. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.